So welcome to video 1 of this 1 in 55 series of cuts and joints. The first cut that we're going to do is just with a chisel. Now this looks like a pretty messed up manky chisel. I had been using this for tins of paint and bashing around, but I have sharpened it and it's still going to be usable. So I just want to show, you don't need brand new tools. In college you might have new tools, you might have a set of new tools, it's nice to have them, even though it's been used, so you can't get them sharpened. Right, we're going to do a chamfer. Now the chamfer is going to be a cut off the edge of this material. For that we're going to use a combination square. This is my favourite measuring and marking out tool. If you do want to know how to dismantle this and reassemble it, there is a video for that. In the link up there. I've set this on 8mm and I'm going to run a chamfer all the way down here, and quite honestly, so as I'm not moving the camera loads, I'm going to do one here, I'm going to do one down here and on this side, because normally if I'm working on this in the workshop I would do it off this end, but you're not going to see that so well, so I'll do it along here as well, then I don't have to move the camera heaps. So I'll set this 8mm and I want to draw a parallel line to this edge. Let's do it in pen. So you can see it a bit better. When I get to the end of this, I'm going to turn this over just so as I have something to rest on, so as I can keep a solid line along here, along that edge, and run it in there. That's 8mm in. We need to go 8mm down. I'm going to leave my timber in there and run it that way. So that's our first marking out and introduction to a sliding bevel. Let's do this one with 2. And you'll see that on this piece of timber I've got a knot. Knots, if you can avoid knots, it's nice to select a piece of timber that you would avoid the knot. But if you haven't, we're going to still cut through it with the chisel. Run that there. Run it out. Mark that one up there. And here. Going through this, I quite like to do these videos in real time. I'm going to take your advice and my editor's advice on that. Because when you're learning this and you see people do it on YouTube, like this would be, or if you're learning it and you're seeing a tutor do it, thing is, they will have done this over and over and over loads of times, and it's not a true representation of what it's like when you're beginning. And I typically teach beginners, and they do say they get a little frustrated at how long it takes to do this. Having some mindfulness, taking the time to practice. Some people don't like to hear that, but when you start doing this, you'll realize if you do invest the time, it's worth the investment at the early stages, and it really is an investment. Because once you get it right at the very beginning, it's going to help you much later, because a lot of it is based on good fundamentals. If you rush the beginning and you try and skip over some of those fundamentals, later on you're going to run into trouble. Okay, so with this one, we want to run a chamfer off of that, and that is cutting this piece out here. So I'll mark my waist. And I'll explain, as I'm doing this, how I'm holding the chisel and how I'm going to manipulate the chisel and move it and manipulate the timber. Let's get a clean chamfer on this. It's quite a long chamfer, that one is. So I've sharpened the chisels, that's a separate video. And with this, I'm going to work on this timber in this direction. Being right-handed, I want to have this over on my right-hand side. I'm going to worry about this end later. I'm going to work from this end up to there. So I'll hold it, not in the handle. Don't let that fool you. It's a bit far out. You want to get it by the neck. Thumb and finger around the neck. Get your hand around that so it's quite close to the blade. With that, your arm then, or your elbow, can go on the bench. Get a sturdy setting on the bench. And what that does is this is going to restrict your movement, which is what you want, because you want to have good control of it. The right hand then can get behind the blade and give it a push. I'm also standing feet shoulder width apart so that I can cut into this. Let's start on the end. When we get into that, we're aiming, it's going to go a little on, to get that out little by little. Now, to keep this safe, I've done a few videos on this where I'm talking about the safety of using a chisel. And that's important because you want to have your hands behind the chisel all the time. If you were to look at this from the side, this angle down here, that is sort of the pitch or the angle that you want to be keeping that chisel at all the way through there, instead of doing this. You'll have to do that sometimes, but not all the time. You want to try and keep it consistently like that. We have that in there. We're moving that along here at a consistent angle. If I'm going back and forth, it's just chopping it out. Moved it now. And we go into that. It's quite satisfying when you get some nice curls out of this. So it's a nice task to practice on at the beginning. What I do also have to do is it will get stuck and stubborn. So I will twist it this way, little that way sometimes, and a little that way. That's 3 dimensions on it. And you're aiming to get this as a full 45-degree line down across here. Through there. That is a hard piece of wood. So you want a sharp chisel for that. There's it. Tough there now. So I'm going to wriggle that through, twist it there, bring my arm back up, carry that forward. Blow the curls out of the way instead of putting your finger in front and trying to get them out. You end up getting a nick. Good. Let's go on that one again. Through here. There's a bit of a tough bit here, so we'll go slower on that one. Yeah, let's see it from there. Let's turn this way so you can see some of the angle cuts this way. But can you see on this one? I go from that direction. Through there. Can't rush it. It starts to look a bit rubbish at the beginning, but we've put it down to 8mm, so we've got a little while to where we can get closer to it and practice this. I'm going to run it in this way as well. I'm going to run on that one. There's the knot. That's going to be a challenge. Alright, so with this one, I'm going to take a lot less out. I'm going to try not to use a mallet on this one, because this is just chisel exercise. It's going to split on me, so before it splits, I'll take a little bit out. There, that's going to catch eye. We've done a chamfer cut, which is down the whole length of the timber. That way. So we've cut this angle here, and that's a chamfer. Let me write it on this one. A chamfer.